Hello, this is Russell Dobular back in beautiful and sunny downtown Los Angeles. Not really, close to downtown. I will be guest hosting for Jimmy Dore, and Jimmy Dore will be guesting on his own show. We have him right over here.
Hi, everybody.
Jimmy Dore guesting. And my my regular companion, Keaton Weiss, is here hanging. How you doing, Keaton?
Doing good. Pleasure to be guest co-hosting on a show that you're hosting, and the host is also in studio co-hosting. Great arrangement we got going here.
It's the night of 1,000 hosts.
Yeah.
So now, Tucker made a lot of news in his conversation with Joe Rogan, which, like all conversations on Joe Rogan, was quite freewheeling. But the thing probably the most interesting thing he talked about was his contention that the people in Congress are terrified of the intelligence agencies, which Rogan was quite interested in. So let's take a look at what he said.
Members of Congress are terrified of the intel agencies. I'm not guessing at that. They've told me that, including people on the Intel Committee, including people who run the Intel Committee, the people whose job it is to oversee and keep in line these enormous secretive agencies whose budgets we can't even know. They're black budgets. They're
racist.
The parents, the agencies are the children. They're afraid of the agencies. That's not compatible with democracy. Democracy is a really simple system, even representative democracy like ours. The people rule. They do so through elections. They express their preference through voting. They send their people to the capital city to run the government on their behalf. Whenever you have unelected people who are not accountable to anyone making the biggest decisions, you don't have a democracy, you have something else, another system. I would call it a tyranny or whatever you want to call it. It's not a democracy. So that's like super obvious. It's playing out in front of everyone and no one cares and no one does anything about it. And I think the reason is because they're threatened. And if you look at the committee chairmen who allow this shit to happen year after year, they're all, and I don't know, people say, oh, they're compromised or being blackmailed or whatever. I don't have evidence of that, but I know them and they all have things to hide. I know that for a fact. And so it's not a stretch of imagination to imagine that, you know, some committee chairman who's allowing warrantless spying on Americans to continue or whatever abuse they're allowing, knowing fully or hiding the truth about UAPs, ignoring the UAP Disclosure Act of 2023. Like, why are they doing that? It's not impossible to imagine that some guy with a drinking problem or a weird sex life, and that's very common up there. That's why they're doing it, because they don't want to be exposed. I don't have evidence of that. I don't have proof of that.
Right.
But that's not a crazy thing to assume that could be happening. And I said to somebody, a very powerful person, the other day in a conversation in my kitchen, an elected official holds a really senior position, a very famous person. I was going crazy. I was so mad about all this stuff. And about the warrantless spying and about the funding for these insane wars. And I said to the guy who serves in one of the legislative bodies, I got so mad my dogs were afraid. They're like, well, why are you yelling? Because I don't yell at home. But I was like, all these people are controlled. They're all, you know, got weird sex lives and all these things are hiding and they're being blackmailed by the intel agencies. And he said, and I'm quoting, I know. I was like, okay, so at this point we're just sort of admitting that's real? Like, why do we allow that to continue?
Right. Now, the reason I put this at the top is I want you to think about this for the next several stories we go through, because if you wonder, what happened to Mike Johnson? Well, this is a pretty good explanation. So did we.
Mike Johnson had one meeting with the CIA and he completely flipped.
And he completely flipped everything he had said, right? Yeah. It's not worth his life, or it's not worth whatever he did behind the junior high school there, of which we have no knowledge.
Bill Hicks used to have a bit where he said, I think whenever a new president gets elected, they bring him into a room and they start the projector and they show him a view of the Kennedy assassination from a view we've never seen before.
Yeah.
And then they just stop and they go, any questions? And he's like, no, I got it.
I think that was a stupid joke too. And now I can't believe
it's not
how accurate to real life it is.
Yes.
It's not even a joke.
Have you seen the Octopus Murders on Netflix?
To watch that.
Okay, so that is a very interesting documentary about a reporter who investigated this conspiracy and links between the intelligence agencies and Wackenhut, a corporation that does private security. They're basically like the modern Pinkertons, and murders
Private
and
prisons
assassinations.
Also. Wasn't that the first private prisons that got approved? Was Wackenhut? That was.
Were they the first? Were they the first?
Because all the rappers now, because
they do run private prisons.
They put a directive out that we're going to make the rap when the '90s, when NWA came out. They owned the private prisons, so they made sure to make the rap gangster rap. It changed overnight. Remember that?
Yeah,
that was on purpose. Ice Cube was saying it to Bill Maher, and Bill Maher's like, "Oh, come on!" Like Bill Maher trying to explain to Bill Maher, it
gets into all that, and they actually interviewed somebody who literally they weren't a politician, they were in intelligence or something. I can't remember exactly what. They claim that film exists, and they were shown that film.
What film?
That they were shown a film of the JFK assassination from a completely different angle that is not shown to the public.
Who claims this?
It was in the documentary. Keaton, did you watch that documentary? Did you watch it?
But it was referenced to. Didn't Judge Napolitano?
I think she was in the intelligence services.
Yeah.
The Judge Napolitano thing.
Right.
And Rogan said to me about Trump saying, if you saw what I saw, you wouldn't release it either.
I would.
Right,
so
exactly,
so that's the film recommendation. Check out The Octopus Murders on Netflix. Very interesting. So these are some of the people on the U.S. Senate Committee on Intelligence. Mark Warner, Mark Rubio. You got Ron Wyden in there. Bunch of people where you got to wonder why they vote. And Tucker was very timely because this really sheds a light on a lot of what happened in Congress this week. Now, some of you might remember Chuck Schumer saying the soft part out loud a few years back on the Rachel Maddow show. You see, once in a while, it's very hard to be a 24-hour-a-day liar. Once in a while, these people tell the truth by accident without realizing that they're giving away the game.
That's what's called a
take on the intelligence community.
Yes.
They have 6 ways from Sunday at getting back at you. So even for a practical, supposedly hard-nosed businessman, he's being really dumb to do this.
What do you think the intelligence community would do if they were motivated?
I don't know, but from what I am told, they are very upset with how he has treated them and talked about them.
If Rachel Maddow were a journalist in any meaningful sense of the word, that conversation would have gone in a completely different direction. Are you saying that the intelligence services can dictate terms to the president of the United States? Isn't that a violation of the Constitution? Maddow doesn't give a shit about violations of the Constitution.
Yeah, what she should have said was, wait a minute, so you're telling me that the president needs to be afraid of the CIA and the FBI and not the other way around? And so then my question to you, Mr. Chairman of the party, Mr. Speaker, Senate, whatever the fuck his title is, the Democratic leader in the Senate.
Yeah.
My question to you is, who does the CIA and the FBI work for? If they don't work for the president, who do they work for? If the president has to be afraid of them, who are they afraid of?
You don't know what they do. He just said, I don't know what they do, but I've heard they you're not in on it? Like, where you get to know how they handle. They just do whatever the hell they want.
That's right.
Well,
at the beginning of the interview, at the beginning of that Tucker interview,
say again, Keaton.
At the beginning of the Tucker Rogan interview, Tucker mentions that the 2016 race is what made him question all of what he used to think about "quote unquote" democracy and how it functions. He says once he saw the reaction to the Trump campaign and what anti-democratic measures were taken to stop a democratic result that the powers that be did not like, that led him to realize that it's not actually a democracy in a meaningful sense. You're allowed democracy when the powers that be don't care who wins. You're allowed to exercise meaningless choices, right? But once they actually are invested,
you can choose
in
Coke
which side
or
wins
Pepsi.
and which side loses, they will sabotage whoever they have to and produce an anti-democratic result if they can. And I think the only reason they didn't successfully stop Trump in 2016 is because they took for granted that he would lose. And by the time It came time to actually stop him. It was too late. And in 2020, notice they did not make that same mistake a second time. Look at all of the people who were really instrumental in that Trump victory. And I would count Julian Assange not as an agent of the Trump campaign, but certainly those leaks helped him. They locked him up. They locked Roger Stone up. They locked Steve Bannon up. They threw Alex Jones off the air. Look at all of these. I won't say they were active agents of the Trump campaign. Some were, some weren't. But all of these influential figures who sort of helped usher in this nightmare scenario in the eyes of the Chuck Schumers of the world, they were all taken off the board for that second campaign. And to an extent, they're being taken off the board now. The Daily Beast just ran an article, and it's not wrong, about how this Trump trial here with the, hush money is already hurting his campaign. If you notice, he's slipped in the polls a little bit. Biden has come up. What has Biden done that he would come up? Nothing. Right. Trump is being kept off the campaign trail because he's in court. Not only can he not have rallies, he can't fundraise. He can't go and bundle money because he's sitting in a fucking courtroom on a bullshit charge. And so they're doing it again. Like, they're not going to make the same mistake a second or third time, which means, odds are in a fair fight, he wins easily. But it's not going to be a fair fight. We know that. So,
in the words of the courageous Cornel West, sounds like you like Trump more than you're letting on.
Yeah, well, I have to play that up while I'm here, obviously. I mean, I have to feed the Trump fan. This is a closet MAGA show that we're running.
Doesn't that reveal like the failure of the left, that no one will call this out? Because the left is now the establishment, and the establishment is doing this, and they're going along. There's no one, even Pulitzer Prize winning authors who I've had on the show won't write an article about how they're weaponizing the Justice Department to go after their political opponents. Certainly Cornel West isn't going to do it because he's an agent of the establishment. Nobody will call this out.
They all believe the ends justify the means. And if you believe the ends justify the means in this context, ironically, you are a fascist. Like, if you believe that the democratic process can be sabotaged and gutted in order to prevent an outcome that you don't like, well, that's what fascism. That is certainly. Now I'm going to unironically quote Cornel West. That is actually an element of fascism.
And if you talk to Zionists now, that they see that the genocide is not a policy that they can openly back. I'm seeing a lot of them retreat to but Trump, but we can't abandon Biden, but Trump. So if genocide is not your line on supporting someone, you don't have one. You literally do not have one. What is worse than genocide?
Trump. I got an answer for you.
But Trump.
That was easy, Ruz.
I believe having a substantial percentage of my financial future secured with gold and silver. I do believe in that. You know this if you watch this show. That's why I decided to partner with our sponsor, Colonial Metals Group. They helped me set up a safe and secure self-directed IRA where I have access to my assets no matter what the stock market, or for that matter, what the government is doing. Let the team of experts at Colonial Metals Group help you protect your family's future. We put together a special offer for our audience. Listen to this offer. Click on the link in the description below or call the special 800 number, which is 888-910-1419, and you'll receive a safe. You're going to get a safe and up to 10 grand in free silver. They say up to. I want to know how much that is going to be. So call 888-910-1419, 888-910-1419, and let a team of experts at Colonial Metals help you protect your family's future. Hey, come see us do a live show in El Paso, Texas, San Antonio, Denver, Colorado, Los Angeles, California, May 19th at the Zephyr Theater. That's a panel show with video. Ashland, Virginia, Athens, Georgia, Rutherford, New Jersey, Minneapolis, Ontario, California, Irvine, California. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for tickets.